In 1793, France stood at a critical crossroads. The revolution had entered one of its most turbulent phases. The monarchy had fallen, foreign powers gathered at the borders, internal rebellions erupted across the provinces, and the new republic was fighting for survival. Among these fires, one blaze threatened to undo the resolution entirely: the revolt in Toulon. Toulon was not just another rebellious port city. It was home to one of France's two major Mediterranean naval bases. Its shipyards, magazines, and anchorage facilities held enormous strategic value. Losing Toulon meant losing the Mediterranean. Worse still, royalists in the city had opened the gates to British and Spanish fleets, inviting foreign intervention directly onto French soil. For the young and relatively unknown artillery officer Napoleon Bonaparte, this was a defining moment. This would become the moment that would change the course of his life. When Napoleon arrived in Toulon in September 1793, the situation was desperate. The Republican army lacked organization, firepower, and leadership. The artillery units were scattered, supplies were limited, and officers were overwhelmed. The British, under Admiral Lord Hood, had fortified the harbor and controlled key positions overlooking the city and the sea. The Republicans needed someone capable of turning chaos into structure, and they needed it immediately. Napoleon surveyed the terrain with the sharp eye of a strategist. He recognized something the senior commanders had overlooked. Toulon could not be retaken by attacking the city directly. The key to victory lay in controlling the high ground that commanded the harbor. If the Republicans could seize those positions, the British fleet would be forced to withdraw. Once the ships retreated, the royalists inside the city would no longer be able to resist. It was a simple idea, but it required confidence, precision, and deep understanding of artillery, qualities Napoleon possessed in abundance. He reorganized the artillery, requisitioning equipment from neighboring regions and repairing abandoned cannons. He established new batteries, improved supply routes, and set up forward positions with mathematical accuracy. He worked relentlessly, often sleeping little, personally overseeing the construction of redoubts and gun placements. His leadership style began to emerge. He demanded discipline, inspired his men through action, and refused to accept inefficiency. One of the batteries he designed, known as the Convention Battery, became instrumental in the siege. Another, the Battery of the Mountain, directed firepower with such precision that it disrupted British defenses. Every cannon, every position, and every shot had a purpose. Napoleon transformed Toulon into a demonstration of how artillery, when expertly coordinated, could decide the fate of battles and nations. The turning point came in December 1793. The Republicans launched a decisive assault based on Napoleon's strategic plan. The key British-held fortifications, including Fort Mulgrave, called Little Gibraltar, were targeted. Napoleon's batteries pummeled the defenses, providing cover for infantry to advance. What had once been a nearly impregnable position began to crack under the relentless fire. During the assault, Napoleon led from the front. He was struck in the leg by a bayonet, but the injury did little to slow him. He remained on the battlefield, directing artillery and ensuring that the attack maintained momentum. His presence under fire inspired his men, who came to see him not as a distant officer, but as a commander willing to share their danger. Once the high ground fell, the British recognized the harbor was lost. They evacuated, burning ships and supplies to prevent them from falling into French hands. With the fleet gone, the royalists in Toulon surrendered. The city returned to Republican control, and the revolution regained its critical naval base. For the government in Paris, Toulon was not merely a military victory, it was a symbolic triumph. And for Napoleon Bonaparte, it was the moment that transformed him from an obscure lieutenant into a national figure. The Committee of Public Safety, impressed by his strategic brilliance, promoted him to brigadier general at the age of 24. In a single campaign, he had demonstrated mastery of artillery, leadership, and operational planning. But the consequences of his success extended beyond rank. Toulon introduced Napoleon to political leaders who would shape his early career. Augustin Robespierre, brother of Maximilien Robespierre, recognized his potential and became one of his early patrons. Their connection, though short-lived due to the coming political upheavals, provided Napoleon with opportunities unavailable to most young officers. Toulon also marked the emergence of Napoleon's military signature. The belief that victory depended on controlling key terrain, maneuvering rapidly, and applying concentrated force at decisive points. His methods blended scientific precision with bold execution. This combination would later define some of the greatest battles in European history. Yet the aftermath of Toulon was not entirely positive. Napoleon became entangled in the volatile politics of the revolution. His association with the Robespierre faction placed him at risk when the reign of terror ended and Robespierre himself fell from power. For a time, Napoleon found himself under suspicion, briefly arrested, and removed from the list of active generals. His career, which had risen so dramatically, now hung in the balance. Still, the Republic needed capable officers, and Napoleon's skill was undeniable. He returned to service within months, working quietly to rebuild his position. His experience at Toulon had proven his technical and intellectual abilities. Now he had to prove he could navigate the shifting political currents as effectively as he commanded artillery. The Siege of Toulon did more than reveal a promising commander. It forged the identity of the future emperor. It showed France that Napoleon Bonaparte possessed not only tactical brilliance, but the will, determination, and resilience required to lead armies. It showed Napoleon that exceptional action, taken at the right moment, could alter the direction of his life. As France plunged deeper into revolution and war, Napoleon's path would lead him to new crises and new opportunities. The next chapter of his rise would come not on the battlefield, but in the streets of Paris, where the survival of the Republic once again depended on decisive force.